Hello everyone, my name is Clantis and welcome to my YouTube channel. So without further ado, let's get into today's video. And today's video has two topics. This is something that I kept getting asked about, especially about what happened yesterday at the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court. I thought I just was going to glaze over it and do the video that I did yesterday, but a lot of y'all were very interested in how exactly does the public get involved in courts. So, of course, I went into a rabbit hole. It was not that deep because I did not want to get into the technicalities about how courts operate in South Africa, because there are legislatures and pieces of law that are attached to the rules of the court. And I thought, no, I don't want this to be too technical for y'all. You guys know that I like to speak in the most simplest terms about any topic that I bring before you. I do not want to become academic either and have like these bombastic words and sophistication in my speech. I just want to be as layman on the street as possible. Is that the correct term? You see what I mean? I just want people to understand what I say whenever I have this sort of setting on YouTube. So the first question that I was asked was, why in your videos you don't have inserts? For example, I would talk about something and then I substantiate it with a clip, like a news channel clip. Now, if you know the real nature of my YouTube channel, I teach about YouTube. Anything YouTube, I give tricks, I give tips, tricks, and hacks on how to start your YouTube channel and how to do all the stuff that you need to do in order to grow your YouTube channel and make money on YouTube, because that's the whole purpose of my YouTube channel. It's just that court cases have kind of like taken over, and I see it's a niche that y'all are interested in over the education one about YouTube. Now, as a person who does YouTube related matters on this channel for 3 years now, I have been observing how YouTube is evolving. And as YouTube is evolving, all these strict rules that they have now, they never existed 2-3 years ago. YouTube was very relaxed in many things. The only thing that they made sure that content creators did not break was the community guidelines as well as copyright. Then they introduced the law called COPPA, C-O-P-P-A. If you're a content creator, you must have seen this policy and you must have read this policy, because it's very important in order to save your YouTube channel from being taken down by YouTube. And I see a lot of South African YouTubers kind of like break this particular policy, and I'm sure at some point YouTube is going to get to you guys with an email saying, can you delete this video, or we take down your channel. I don't know why some content creators are not reading that piece of law. It's very important. COPPA. I'm not going to spoon feed you about it because I have done it on this channel before. Please go read it, understand it, because it's going to affect your YouTube channel, especially those that have children. If you got children and your children appear on your videos, go read that particular policy. It's there in your YouTube studio. Now, as I was saying, with the evolution of YouTube, I am foreseeing a time where YouTube is going to update all content creators, especially content creators who have to substantiate with news clips or some sort of a video that is not of your own, but maybe of a news channel or maybe somebody else's video, to kind of like prove your point about whatever point you have made. I think there will come a point where YouTube is going to ban such videos. If it doesn't ban such videos, remember, news channels also have YouTube channels now. And then they're realizing that having YouTube channels is also paying them, because I can challenge you now, go to any news channel right now, click on their channel and watch one video. You will see first what will pop. It is adverts. As you're watching the videos, you will see mid-roll ads as well. At the end of that story, you will also see ads. This means that that particular news channel is making money out of those ads from YouTube. So they will think, how to make more money out of this platform. That is when they're going to start approaching YouTube and say, we want to copyright all of our newspaper, all our news video clips on YouTube. If any YouTuber uses that particular clip on their videos, they will take a piece of the ad revenue from that particular YouTuber. So because I foresee that, that is why I don't add any video clips on my videos. I would love to do that, but because what I'm seeing in the future, I decided I'm not going to add any clips or inserts on any of my videos that I do. As a matter of fact, ever since I started my channel, I've never added a clip on my videos, whether in my true crime video or true crime YouTube channel or this particular one. I'm not. And I always get asked this question, why don't you put the inserts on my videos? Now you know the reason why. And I'm not also saying to any YouTuber, because this might not actually happen. I'm just probably being paranoid because of my observations about how YouTube is evolving. But at the same time, just like musicians, they approached YouTube and said, if any content creator wants to use our music, we want half of the ad revenue. So news channels might do the same thing at some point. So I don't know. So if you're doing that, I'm not discouraging you. I'm just saying the possibility of that happening is pretty high at this point in time on YouTube or YouTube's existence, because things continuously updates and upgrades. And I can tell you right now, there are so many upgrades and updates that are happening on YouTube Studio. If you are a content creator on YouTube, you will see some changes that are happening there. With so many things that are changing. At some point, I feel like inserting of videos from news channels and other sources may come to a point where they are going to copyright them. And when they copyright them and then your videos are affected, it's either you'll have to take down that video, or you will have to share the ad revenue with that particular news channel or that particular person that you used the clip. So I don't know. Right now, the thumbnail for the thumb rule of an insert or music in your channel, in order for it not to be hit with a copyright claim or strike, is 20 seconds. So you have to run 20 seconds, and that is not going to affect you anyway. But if you go beyond the 20 seconds, that is when you're going to start seeing some copyright claims or copyright strikes or whatever the consequences will be for putting inserts in the video. So that is why I do not put any inserts on my videos. Instead, what I would do is I would put either a picture, and then I'm not also going to put a picture of a person without seeking their permission first, unless that picture is in the newspaper, meaning that it's already in the public arena. Then I can use it too. And secondly, I usually like to put a picture of the convicted, because it's in the public eye anyways. You've been convicted and you were convicted in an open court, so there is no way that you can come and say remove the picture. You did not ask for permission for it, because it's not. Why are you picking on me alone? Why aren't you picking on the news channels that also have your picture and videos of you, etc. and so forth, as opposed to taking a picture and inserting of a person that I probably took a picture of on the streets. I ought to have first asked for their permission to put their picture on any of my content. And so that is why I do not put these inserts on my videos, because I'm afraid at some point YouTube will wake up one morning and say all inserts on videos are now copyrighted. If you have a video that is has an insert, it's either you edit it out, or you have to take down that video, or you're going to have to share the ad revenue with the artist, depending on whether that content or that piece of insert it's a strikeable one or it's minimal. I don't know. We'll see. That's just me. And I'm sorry if I have scared you, and I'm not saying don't do it in the future when you do this sort of reporting on your channels. It's just me. I think it's my paranoia. I don't know. I think maybe it's my paranoia. So the second topic that I want to, in fact, let me say something else. I noticed that for the second time now, not in a row, I've been forgetting to add my intro. So now, the first 20 seconds, because that's how long my intro is, I'm kind of like looking into space or probably doing something. And I'm so glad that that's why I have not done anything crazy, because sometimes behind the scenes, I do some crazy things. These sort of things can happen. So I was like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot to add an intro in my previous video, but I'm now conscious. Trust me, I'm now conscious. Now, the second topic on this channel is about public and the courts in South Africa. So now, like I said, I went through a rabbit hole just looking. I didn't want anything complicated, too sophisticated for me to bring to your attention. All that I found was that, number one, in South Africa, courts, like court proceedings, are held in public. In a nutshell, this means that in a courtroom, there is a public gallery. In the public gallery, you are allowed to walk in, sit down, and observe the hearings of the court, of any court, whether that is a magistrate's court or that is a high court or a Supreme Court of Appeal or the Constitutional Court or any other courts or any other special courts that are provided for in our Constitution. You are allowed to go and observe, unless the judge or the magistrates, they have that right as well, that prerogative to decide whether that particular hearing is going to be open to the public or closed to the public. And if it's going to be closed to the public, in most cases, it is where it involves children, either as witnesses or victims, and so the court will close. Even the child themselves will be in what you call in camera when they are testifying, so that the public does not see the identity of the child. The child must be a minor. In South Africa, courts are the supreme guardians of children. That means it starts and stops with the High Court of the Republic of South Africa when it comes to a child's interest. The best interest of the child lies with the High Court of South Africa, or any High Court of South Africa. So therefore, magistrates, high courts, Supreme Court of Appeals, constitutional courts, they can decide to close a hearing to the public. However, though, if it's an open court, public is allowed to come in, journalists are allowed to come in, as well as members of the public are allowed to come in and sit in the public gallery. In this channel, or the videos that I make about court cases, I call y'all and myself members of the gallery, public gallery. We are the public gallery, and I take that public gallery and I bring it to my channel, because sometimes in court you can't talk. You can't analyze some few things. So what do? We come to this channel as the public gallery and analyze the proceedings that took place in a particular case that we are interested in. So in an open court, the judge can also decide whether recordings and broadcasting of a procedure may be allowed or not allowed. There are different circumstances where a judge can decide that, okay, no recording, no broadcasting, no taking of photos of the proceedings. That is the prerogative of the judge, by the way, to make that decision. And also, journalists, if they want to record or they want to broadcast a proceeding, they first have to seek permission from the judge who is presiding on that particular case that is in the public interests. And usually when a judge makes that decision, the decision must be in the public, in the interest of law, or in the interest of justice, and also the public being interested in. Of course, if the public is interested in that particular case, that means it is in the interest of law or justice in order for the judge to make a decision. So sometimes it is necessary for a judge to say no recording, no taking photos, and no broadcasting. On whatever reason, if the judge, again, thinks that the proper administration of justice is intact, then all goes. So once you are in court, I'm sure now or by now you have seen how the court is it designed. In front, that is where you'll see a judge or a magistrate. Right in front of the judge, you will see a desks. On that one of those desks, you will find the court clerk. The court clerk's job is to administer all the proceedings of the hearing in that particular court. They ensure that the evidence and exhibitions they are responsible of them to put them in place for the court. They're also in charge of putting what you call this making sure there is order in the court. When you hear order in the court, or when the judge enters and exits, they are the ones who will tell you to rise or rise. And then once the proceedings are done and the judge or the magistrate is about to walk out, all rise and then they leave. That's a court clerk or the court marshal. They also make sure that the machines that are prescribing whatever proceedings that are happening in the court, those machines are working. Sometimes they would have a reporter basically typing every single word verbatim of whatever is happening in the courtroom. So these days they are using these machines that record the transcripts. Oh, by the way, the public can ask for those transcripts. Of course, you have to make an application for permission to get those recordings, whether you want to hear the audio or you want the transcript itself in a paper. I think you pay some kind of fees for that. I'm not quite sure. But you do have that permission to do so. If you're a student that is doing law, LLB in particular, you can also go to any court that you are interested in a particular case that you are interested in, and probably even seek for those transcripts if you think you want to. I don't know, maybe you are doing a dissertation or whatever the case is. Yeah, but you expect that you are going to pay some fee for those recordings. Oh, by the way, the clerk of the court as well, their job is to call witnesses and swear them in, and then all the sort of shenanigans that take place in court. Then after those desks, you will see then the part where the lawyers sit, and then behind the lawyers, that's the dock. Behind the dock, that's the public gallery. Most of the time, the public gallery and where the public gallery and the dock will be separated by a staircase that goes down. Basically, that's where the accused or prisoners come up and also exit when they leave the court. So there will be that space between the gallery as well as the dock. I think also is for safety reasons, so that anybody that is aggrieved by the accused, they don't harm the accused, or the accused harm any members of the family of the victims that they are in court for. Then the question came about what exactly happened at the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court yesterday when Thabo Bester's former lawyers appeared, especially Mr. Ndou. Remember, Mr. Pillar was representing Mr. Ndou. I have a theory as to what had happened. I don't know why people are not letting this one go, but I guess I'm also understanding why people were so invested in this particular case. So let me take you through my suspicions. This is no facts. This is me just rubbing my two IQs after I was asked this question so many times. So I thought, okay, let me entertain it and tell you what I think, or what my two IQs spark up when I had these thoughts. So this is what I'm thinking. It's a scenario. It's fabricated in my head. It's not what had happened. So I'm not even going to use words such as allegedly. This is just me thinking. So this is what I think. After Thabo Bester's former lawyers had recused themselves in the Bloemfontein High Court on Tuesday, that's the 20th of June, the following day, Mr. Ndou, who is the former instructing attorney of Thabo Bester, also had a case in the Bloemfontein High Court. Of course, as you guys know, he's accused of rape as well as assault. And so he was to appear on the 21st of June for that hearing. Now, what's interesting is that this kind of like sparked a public interest in this case. That also included the members of the media. So now this is what I think happened. These two lawyers knew that there's going to be a public interest in Mr. Ndou's matter. So what they did, they decided to go to the management of the court, basically to find out which court amongst all the courtrooms that has a special entry, meaning like a private entry and exit, because they would like to utilize that to conceal basically the presence of Mr. Doe in the gaze of the media as well as the members of the victim's family. Family members of the victim. So I'm not quite sure what transpired there, but I'm assuming what had happened was the management of the magistrates court of probably knows the ins and outs of the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court and also know which courtrooms have private or secret entries and exits and which ones that don't. So as far as we know that Mr. Doe was supposed to appear, okay, I'm not quite sure of the number. So in your head, interchange them. So I think he was to appear in courtroom 20. And that is the courtroom that was assigned for his case that was going to be heard on the 21st of June. But now Mr. Doe and Mr. Pila, after finding out which court has a private entry and exit, then they decided to go to that particular courtroom's clerk and basically ask the clerk if they can switch courtrooms. Probably courtroom 17, where Mr. Doe was supposed to... No. Courtroom 17 happens to be the one that had the private entry and exit, but courtroom 20 did not have it. So they went to, after finding out the court, they went to courtroom 17 and asked the clerk of that particular courtroom if they can switch courtrooms, and probably explain to the clerk of courtroom 17 as to why they would like to use that particular courtroom the following day. And probably the clerk of courtroom 17 then said, okay, go to the clerk of courtroom 20 and find out if they won't mind if we switched courtrooms. And probably that's exactly what had happened. Courtroom 20 clerk was like, okay, I'm fine with switching, together with courtroom clerk, courtroom number 17. And that's how the switch was done. Now, what kind of like gets a little bit murky for me is when the prosecutor as well as the magistrates realized that they were no longer going to the courtrooms they were assigned to. What did they say? Now, before I get to that, I want to address the fact that the media did make an application to courtroom 20 if they can record as well as broadcast the proceedings. And now that there is a switch, when that magistrate went to courtroom 17 instead of courtroom 20, and also holding in his hand or on one of his files that the media had requested to broadcast, what decision did he take? Why didn't he or she did not come back to the media and say, I'm sorry, these proceedings are not going to be recorded or broadcasted. No pictures, nothing will be taken either. Why did that particular magistrate just sit on that application and actually allow the procedure to go ahead, where Mr. Pila as well as Mr. Doe, who is the accused, appeared and then had the case postponed to the 7th of July? That's where, for me, it gets a little bit murky. And what did the prosecutor say as well when he realized that he's no longer going to be in courtroom 20, but now he's switched to courtroom 17? And also, when the magistrate walked in and saw the court being empty, there's no public, the public gallery is empty, the victim not being there. Of course, the victim doesn't necessarily have to come to a court, but what about the family members that may have wanted to come and hear and see this particular alleged perpetrator? So then what did he say, or she, if it's a she? What questions were asked to the prosecutor? What did the prosecutor say in response as to why the gallery is not present? How come this is a closed matter? Because I'm sure there are procedures for that to take place. Yes, a magistrate or a judge can take that decision unilaterally and say, okay, today's proceedings are going to be held privately. But now, on what grounds? That's where for me it gets a little bit what's happening now. As a person, Rabima, two IQs together. Is it possible that the magistrates, together with the prosecutor, have some kind of relationship with Mr. Ndo and Mr. Pila? And I'm not talking romantic relationship here. I'm talking either they used to be colleagues, they worked under one firm, or they just friends outside of court. That's what I'm asking. And if there is some kind of relationship of that nature, then that particular magistrate, in the next appearance, he or she needs to recuse themselves, because clearly they favor their friend over justice. I don't know. That's my thoughts. So the other question that I also had was about the NPA spokesperson. Number one, I don't think the NPA spokesperson had any business being present in the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court for this particular case. I think he was briefed about the changes that took place, and also the reason why he stood with the media basically making fools out of them is because he knew that he had no business being there. Imagine all magistrates courts have the NPA spokesperson there for every case that is not even in the public interest. They are there for what? Why was this particular NPA spokesperson present in this particular case? Because that case is not a high-profile case. Yes, the accused is a former lawyer of Thabo Bester. But does that determines that hearing to be a high-profile one? I don't think so, and I don't think NPA should have been present. And that is why I think the NPA spokesperson guy had to stand before the media and save his own face, because he knew that he had no business being there. But he had been briefed. I suspect he had been briefed about the switches of courtrooms. But because he was not supposed to be there, he then had to sit with the journalist as if he too was being fooled. So if you look closer at his body language, you would see that he's lying through his teeth. There is deception in his voice and his demeanor as well. So then what happens from here? I think the media should launch an application basically to hold the magistrate that was supposed to have permitted them or not permitted them to broadcast the matter on Tuesday accountable. Because as far as I'm concerned, that was a media blackout that magistrate actioned that particular day. For what reason, no one knows. Whether he or she going to explain themselves, I don't know. But I think this matter, even though the media need to ask themselves this question, is in the best interest of the public. I think it is in the best interest of the public, or the public interest, and therefore we would like to see some action that is taking place in that particular case, because this man knew very well when he took Thabo Bester as a client that he himself was facing a heinous crimes that he's been accused of. So I think I took an interest as an officer of the court being accused of such heinous crimes as to what came over him in doing something like that, allegedly. And if I would also like to know, are there any other women that he has done something like this to in the past? So this for me is interesting case, and therefore I render it as a matter that is in the public interest, and therefore I think the media should be allowed to broadcast, because the media is part of the public gallery. So some of us can't be there physically. We rely on the media broadcasting these sort of proceedings so that we, the members of the public gallery on YouTube, can sit down and have some sort of analogy discussion or whatever it is that we do on these streets regarding these court cases. Well, that is it, guys, with my thoughts about this matter regarding Mr. Ndo, Thabo Bester's former instructing attorney, and also why I don't insert video clips on my videos and anything else that I have said in this video. That is it, guys. If you liked the video, give it a like. If you didn't like the video, give it a like anyway. Do subscribe to my channel if you have not subscribed yet. Then don't forget to click the bell notification so that you get notified every time I upload a new video. And also share the video far and wide. I highly appreciate it, everybody that do this, because I do see it in my analytics that you guys are sharing my videos. I appreciate that so much. Let's see each other again in my next video. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.